Hi, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about riveting today. So riveting is a way to connect metals and pieces together without using soldering, without using fire. It's doing cold connections. For this class, what I'm going to be working on is showing you at first how to hammer. You can hammer making letters with a punch set, and we have another video that you can check out to do that if you want to do some hammering and some letters. And what I'm going to show you is really kind of how to hammer it out to get this nice hammered look. So the order of this, if I was making this pendant here, what I would want to do first is stamp and hammer away with my riveting, with my chasing hammer, ball peen. I'll show you how to do that. Next, what we're going to do is if you wanted to do letters, you would do that. Again, check our other video out, how to do letters. I'm going to skip that part. And then what I'm going to do is show you how to do these rivets and how to connect your pieces, and then finally how to make the hole. So for this, you're going to need a hammering block. Bench block, steel block, anything will work, but you just want to make sure that it is steel, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be hammering to get that nice hammered look. The first hammer that I'm going to pick is my ball peen hammer. So it has a nice rounded head, and that's going to get our nice kind of nicked up rounded look. This one here we've practice on, and we kind of have some wording. This is copper sheeting. It's 24 gauge copper sheeting. We sell them in packs of 2. They come in gold, silver. Copper is nice because it bends really easily and you can hammer it down really nicely. These here are patera findings. If you notice, some of the finding and the some of the finish may come off when you hammer down the patera, but overall it's pretty good. I'm going to be working with this one here. So we messed up one side. I'm going to be working on the other side. You won't even see it. So again, I'm going to use my ball peen hammer right here. You may have this in your garage too. When I'm hammering, I start from the center and then I'm going to work my way out. What's going to happen is that's going to push some of the metal and kind of distort it to the outsides. So it's the first step in kind of doing this pendant. So I'm going to be hammering and pulling, and I'm going to keep going, turn the camera off. You're going to hammer and pull, and then I'll come back to you once you see that it's all hammered out. So now off screen what I've done is I've hammered this hammering block. You can see, same one, I had those letters on the side. When you flip it over, you don't really see it. So don't think just because you kind of messed up on one side you can't use it. You can't even see those letters through here now that it's punched out. What I'm going to do now is attach this flower here by the process of riveting to my disc. I'm going to decorate the flower a little bit by putting a bead cap, or I'm sorry, a daisy spacer. I use bead caps a lot. I'm going to put that right in the middle there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark right where I need my hole to be with a Sharpie marker. And then I'm going to punch my hole. So I'm just going to take a Sharpie marker, and I'm just going to show you with, because if you get the marker in here you can't really see it. So I'm just going to use this pin here. I'm going to take my Sharpie marker and I'm just going to dot through and go right to the bottom. And then I'm going to know where to punch my hole. Once I remove those, I'm going to find my dot, and once I have my dot, I'm going to get out my pliers. And these pliers are hole punching pliers or riveting pliers. It's a 1.5 millimeter little rivet that, or little hole that it's going to make in there. And what that is going to do is make enough room for my rivet. When I'm doing rivets, I have these little rivets that they can be long or short. We have them in 2 different sizes. I'm not going to need the long one, so I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to be using the short one. So first thing I'm going to do is punch my hole. So this is about where my hole, my marker pen would be. I'm just kind of doing this free form. And I'm going to punch it from the top to the bottom. What that's going to do, you're going to hear a little snap. That is going to make sure that any roughness that I have is kind of towards the back. If you want to, you can take a pad and kind of scrub that down. It will make a little bit of marks though on your pendant. I usually don't worry about it. So I have my hole now, and that's going to be used to layer up my flower. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my rivet into the back of my hole. Then I'm going to drop my flower on. See how the flower is really big and I have a lot of space kind of play in there? That's one of the reasons that I'm going to use this daisy spacer to go on top. Now that I have that all stacked up, I'm going to look till I have about 1/8 of an inch above on my rivet. That's what I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to cut some of that head of that rivet off. I've cut some of the head off, and you can see it has a little bit of a point you can see from the glare. What I'm going to do now is take another hammer, and this one is just a flathead hammer, and I do most of my wire working videos with this, and I'm just going to hammer that down just a tiny little bit so that the head starts to become straight. Next, we're going to do the actual riveting. For this, you're going to need a riveting hammer. So the riveting hammer, it always makes me feel like I'm working in the mines or an elf or something. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that flat end and I'm going to be working that rivet so that I'm pushing the metal out towards all the corners. So if my hand here was a rivet, what I'm actually going to be doing is pushing the wire from the middle of the rivet out towards the sides. And I'm going to be hammering on that right from the middle and out and kind of pulling out while I hammer. So I'm going to start that. And I'm going to start, like I said, I feel always like I'm in a workshop here, Santa's workshop. And I'm going to hammer down and get my rivet starting. What you'll start to see is you'll start to notice that the top of that rivet is starting to spread out and become wider. So if you notice I'm hammering a little bit, then I'm turning. That way I make sure my rivet doesn't go off to one side or another. It hammers down nice and flat. And I'm going to keep hammering down till it gets nice and flat towards the bottom of my pendant. It's a little difficult for me because I'm trying not to hit the glass that's holding the camera here. Once I have that rivet semi down in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over, use the head of the rivet here, or the head of the riveting hammer, and I'm just going to press it down so that it flattens it out. What that's going to do is cause it to, if you see I'm shaking and it's not falling off, and mine still has probably a little spin, a little tiny bit. Not much of a spin, but it'll spin just a little tiny bit. So that's how I'm doing that rivet. If I wanted to do other holes, make sure when I'm doing this one, what I did was punched all my holes at first, figured out exactly which part was going on the bottom, what needed to go next, and make sure that you're doing your layers in order so that if you have one that needs to go above the other or below the other, that you're doing that first. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to punch a hole here at the top. And again, I'm getting that hole puncher back out. And I'm going to punch a hole right here at the top. Twist that out. And then I'll just hang it from a jump ring and I'll have a nice little pendant. So riveting is really simple. The keys that I would say is to make sure that the holes that you're riveting on are not too big. What you can do when you look at it here in the back, the rivet head is a little bit bigger than what you make. If you have a really big hole and it's not holding, what you can actually do is work with the rivet backwards. So you'll see the flat portion on the top of your pendant, and that way you won't see your movement won't go around, you'll actually be going fine. And what you're going to do is flip it over and use the back of that riveting. So that's kind of the gist of riveting. You really need to try it out, test it out. Again, the things that you really do need are you need that 1.5 millimeter punch, because that's going to punch the correct size holes for your rivets. That's one important thing that you want to make sure. And then you're also going to need a hammering block, and you're definitely going to need a chasing hammer. It's kind of the chasing hammer and then also the riveting hammer are the two that you definitely want to get. So you need the block, you need the pliers, you need the two hammers, some rivets, and then you can have fun. You can even pick up old tin cans that you can work with. You can work with soda bottles, guitar picks, kind of a bunch of different things that you can actually punch holes in and then connect things to. You can also, when you're working with this, incorporate into this. So this part here is riveted on. There's a silver rivet right there. The other thing I've done is punched holes in my project. And when I punched holes in my project, I punched holes in, and then I've actually wire wrapped the beads into place so that the seed beads can hang out on there too. The options are endless. Have fun and enjoy some riveting. Check out our other metalworking videos, our stamping and hammering, also some wire working videos. It's going to really open up your ideas as far as what you want to make, how you want to make it, and it gives a lot of options if you watch the other videos. So check us out on Facebook, watch the rest of our YouTube videos, stop by our stores, take a class, and really expand your jewelry making techniques by learning how to do some of this cold connection stuff.